I got some interesting Raiders rumors that the entire nation needs to see here on today's show. Should the Raiders bench Aidan O'Connell for the rest of the season? I know what Antonio Pierce said today, that he's trending in the right direction. But I got a take that I think that the nation needs to see. Is AP's time done in Las Vegas? We're going to talk about that. And then the Raiders will have the #1 pick. If you came for some just win babies, you're in the right place. Now, I do have a big favor to ask. Every single day that we pull up here on this show, this is how I pay for my house. This is how I pay for food on my table. This is how Chuck gets to be a good boy and gets a nice little treat. One of the ways that you guys can help this show grow is continue to support us by hitting that subscribe button for free videos. And guess what? I put out a goal, and I want to get to 181,000 subs by the time we play the Jacksonville Jaguars in Week 16. We got 6 days to do it, and we need 365 more subs to do it. So for a lot of y'all that are the OGs that have already subscribed, you know what the Just Win Baby Raiders rumor meter is. If you are new to the show, we picked up probably about 300 to 400 new subs yesterday during Monday Night Football. This is what I am talking about when I say Just Win Baby. So if you need to rewind, you need to check out the meter. There's the meter. Basically, if you see something with 4 Just Win Babies, it means it's 100% going to happen. So should the Las Vegas Raiders bench Aidan O'Connell for the rest of the season? Yes, this one is 4 Just Win Babies. Believe it, baby. And it has nothing to do with Aidan not playing well. It is the exact opposite. I have been saying it for weeks. I am Team Tank. And if you're Team Tank, then you don't want AOC to play against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Then you don't want AOC to play against the Saints or the Chargers in Week 18. And I know that he missed Monday Night Football with that knee injury, and he was the emergency third-string quarterback yesterday against Atlanta. He did go out there. He tried to test it out before the game, and usually when a player is able to do that, they are on track to play the following week. And Antonio Pierce said that he is trending in the right direction. But, let's be honest with ourselves. What's the most important thing for the Raiders at this point? Is it us winning a meaningless game in Week 16, Week 17, Week 18? No. The reason why that you got to rest Aidan O'Connell, makes the most sense for this season, and it also makes the most sense for next season. And that's going to be one of the things that we're going to discuss here on today's show, because I don't think nearly enough people are talking about how important it is for Aidan to be healthy next season. It's going to save us millions upon millions of dollars, and it's got to be something that more people from the nation talk about. If you see somebody out there going, Aidan should play Week 16, Aidan should play Week 17 and Week 18, I want y'all to send them this video, because I think when you get done watching this show, you're going to go, yeah, all right, I agree with what Mitch said there. We need to rest them for next season. So here we go. We're going to make this the pinned comment on today's show. Give me a yes or a no. Should the Raiders shut down Aidan O'Connell for the rest of the season? If you're like yes, say it with your chest and join me down below. If you're going to say no, hey, it's all good. At least give me a reason. My answer coming up after this YouTube ad break. If you are Team Tank and care about the future of the Las Vegas Raiders, then the answer is yes. The Silver and Black need to shut down Aidan O'Connell for the remainder of the season. And coming up here on today's show, I'm going to tell you exactly why every Raiders fan should want that exact same thing. And I know that it might be unfair to AOC, and I can't blame AOC for wanting to go out there and play, because this might be his final opportunity to be a starting quarterback in the National Football League. But if you care about the Raiders more than you care about Aidan O'Connell, here's why you should shut him down. The first reason is this. Aidan would have beat the Atlanta Falcons yesterday. Kirk Cousins is washed. Atlanta tried every way in their power to give up that game. I mean, think about it. The Falcons were getting ready to kick a field goal up 15-3 with about 5 minutes and 35 seconds to go. Young Ho ends up missing one, and then it was Desmond Ridder, and Atlanta just tried to totally give up. If Aidan's healthy and he's on the field for 4 quarters, the Raiders would not have been as bad as what they were offensively in those first 3 quarters, therefore putting themselves in a position where they win that game at the end. If you are Team Tank, and I get it, you got to be on the path of what gives us the best way to lose football games. And it sucks. I hear you loud and clear. But is Aidan O'Connell better than Carter Bradley? Yes, he is. Is Aidan O'Connell better than Desmond Ridder? Yes, he is. Are the Raiders better with Aidan? Yes, they are. For that reason, you got to shut him down. Let's go to the next reason here of why it's important. I want AOC to be the QB2 next season. And I think a lot of Raiders fans probably want that exact same thing. And if you're a numbers person, then tell me how these numbers don't make a lot of sense to you. Because you can call me crazy for wanting AOC at $1.2 million instead of Gardner Minshew at $14 million. Nobody wants Aiden to be the starter next season. Nobody wants Gardner Minshew to be the starter next season. If we're going to be Team Tank, we're looking to draft a quarterback. And yeah, maybe the Raiders decide to sit Shedeur for a season. It's something that's being talked about. But what my hope is that Shedeur is going to be out there. A Cam Ward's going to be out there, which means then let's have a good, reliable backup quarterback at a cheap price. 1.2 for Aiden or $14 million for Gardner Minshew. It's easy math. And if Aiden is healthy and he is under contract, the Raiders won't move on from him. Now, there's a potential where if a team's like, hey, I'll give you a 5th-round pick for AOC, maybe the Raiders think about it, maybe they don't. But if Aiden's healthy and he's your QB2, it gives you the ability to move on from Gardner Minshew because nobody wants to pay Minshew $14 million. And if you decide to cut him, you end up eating $7.6 million in dead. You save $6.3. That's pre-June 1st. The way that I think that the Raiders would do it is they would designate him as a post-June 1st cut candidate. That way they would save $9.3, and then Minshew would be free to go with anywhere he pleases. But the Raiders are at least going to try to trade him first, and a new team would take on $11.8 million. No team under the sun is going to take on Gardner Minshew at $11.8 million. So therefore, I don't think that you're going to save a lot of this money. The Raiders could try to do it, but moving on from Gardner Minshew saves the Raiders money. And we need Aiden to be healthy in order for us to be able to do that early in the offseason. Let's go to another one here. Sometimes you need a good rookie mentor. Being drafted in the NFL is tough. Being a franchise quarterback is tough. Being drafted high, all of these things are not easy things to be able to do, and there's a lot of pressure that comes along with it. AOC is one of the nicest human beings, the stand-up guy, a very intelligent person, and he's always been down to help. Like, one of my favorite things that Aiden and Gardner did this offseason, don't get me wrong, it was a shitty quarterback battle, and we all kind of knew that it was going to be shitty, but, like, Aiden always helped out Gardner to get the best out of him. Gardner always helped Aidan O'Connell. So I want a backup quarterback that knows his role on this team. And yeah, it might be a little bit unfortunate, but like we've seen some guys stay in the NFL for 10, 15 years being a good backup QB. Because I know this, if Tom Brady goes out and gets Shedeur Sanders, and then Shedeur Sanders is working with Tom Brady, you know if I'm Aidan O'Connell, the number one person that I would also like to be able to work with? Tom Brady. You know who else is going to be able to raise my stock if the more and more I work with him, the more and more I stay in that organization? It's Tom Brady. Aidan O'Connell knows if he wants to raise his stock, staying with the Raiders helps out Aiden, unless the team gives him a starting opportunity, which quite frankly I just don't see happening. And then the last thing is this. Shedeur and Aiden offense is similar. Like, I think a lot of times people, when they hear the name Shedeur Sanders, they're going to think like, all right, we're going to run a little bit of a different offense. The offense that the Raiders would input for Shedeur would be very similar to Aiden because both of these guys are pocket passers. I understand that Shedeur is more athletic. He is more athletic than Aidan O'Connell. I think a lot of people are more athletic than Aidan O'Connell at the NFL level. But like the offense, the structure is going to be based on getting the ball out quickly. It's going to be based on high accuracy. It's going to be based on play action. It's going to be based on having a good running game. It's going to be based on throwing the ball in the middle of the field. Everything that Shedeur does, everything that Aiden does, Shedeur already does at a better level, and he's a younger player. So for all these reasons, it's why I would shut down Aiden. At the end of the day, this is a wasted season. So why not plan for the future? The best way that the Raiders can plan for the future is to shut down O'Connell for the remainder 3 games, make sure he's 100% healthy, and start planning for 2025. Coming up next here on the show is Antonio Pierce's time in Las Vegas over. And what's crazy is, you guys already know what I'm going to say, where there's smoke, there's fire. And the smoke has been growing and growing and growing. And today, we're going to reveal even a little bit more smoke. Before I get into it, though, man, Game Time is today's sponsor, and I love me some Game Time. Last-minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed. Game Time is sponsoring the show, and use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. One of the things that I love about Game Time is that they're focused on togetherness this holiday season, which means When you bring people together at live events, the experience is that much better, and it's the perfect gift. You might not remember the score. Hopefully, a lot of y'all don't remember a lot of the Raiders scores from this season. But you know what you might remember? You might remember a funny experience that you and your dad had. I always say this. I was really young, and I can still remember when Sammy Sosa and Mike Piazza both hit a home run in a Mets and Cubs game. That is a memory that I will have forever, and creating those lasting memories is what Game Time's going to be able to help you do. Plus, the other day I was looking for a gift for Alex's dad, and, it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what to get him for Christmas. I don't know. You know what I've been thinking about doing? Getting tickets to a Cowboys game. I know it's the Raiders report, but he's a Cowboys fan. That's an awesome gift idea, and you're going to be able to spend quality time with somebody who is important to you. So if you're like, you know what, Mitch, I'm buying into that. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time today. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code CHATSPORTS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply again. Create an account, redeem code CHATSPORTS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It is Game Time. I'm telling y'all, if this is an app that I trust to be able to get my father-in-law a gift for Christmas, and I also got him a gift for his birthday, then I think that you should trust Game Time as well. Let's go. Let's talk about Antonio Pierce, and is his time done in Las Vegas? I'm going to give this one 3 just win babies, and I'm going to say that it's pretty likely. There's a part of me where I almost just want to give this 4 just win babies because I don't even believe in my heart of hearts that Antonio Pierce is going to be back. But I'm still just going to give it 3 because the only way that Antonio Pierce, I believe, is back next season is if Mike Vrabel says, I'm not interested in the job. If Mike Vrabel says, I am interested in the Raiders job, then I'm telling you, it's a 4 just win, baby. Antonio Pierce ain't going to be back. The reason why that it's 10% chance is because I don't know how much Vrabel wants this job. Tom Brady wants Mike Vrabel. Mark Davis is losing confidence by the day on Antonio Pierce. Hell, AP was asked about his job today, and he goes, well, I'm under contract for next season. If the question is, will you be back next year? And your response is, well, I'm under contract next season. I don't think that that's giving you a lot of hope of confidence that you are going to be back. And don't get me wrong, this has been the number one thing that people have been saying. Mitch, the Raiders need to bring back Antonio Pierce because he was dealt a bad hand. You are 1,000,000% right that Antonio Pierce was dealt a bad hand. I can remember doing a video last offseason, and I said, if the Raiders go into this year with Aidan O'Connell and Gardner Minshew, it is an absolute fail by Antonio Pierce and Tom Telesco. Now, AP got the hand that he was dealt. I get it. And it was an unlucky hand. I mean, if you're playing Texas Hold'em and you get a 3 of clubs and a 2 of diamonds, a smart person would probably fold that hand. The problem is Antonio Pierce was given a bad hand. He was given an unlucky hand, but he still hasn't played that hand well. And one of the things that Mark Davis is evaluating is how Pierce is getting better and better and better as the year goes on. And the problem is Antonio Pierce is not getting better. In fact, he shows you week in and week out that he's not ready to be a head coach from a decision-making standpoint, especially for a head coach who doesn't call plays on offense, doesn't call plays on defense. You need to be a good CEO. It's been a word that we have used multiple times on the show, and I saw a quote from Tashan Reed that hit it exactly on the head, and I'm going to share it with y'all. For a CEO head coach, one that doesn't call plays in any of the 3 phases of the game management is arguably his most important duty on game days. Yet, Pierce is one of the worst head coaches in the NFL at doing so and has yet to show any growth in that area. If Antonio Pierce was a quarterback, right, and we could see stats that backed up a lot of the things that I'm saying here, everybody would go, it's time to move on from Antonio Pierce. Because even though AP can scream Raiders, and even though I wanted AP, a lot of y'all wanted Antonio Pierce, I think one of the things that people need to do, adults need to do, good business people need to do is say, I was wrong. And in life, it's okay to be wrong. You're going to be wrong a bunch. But how do you learn from your mistakes? One of the ways that you don't, kind of go down that history path again is to just do the same thing over and over again. And I'm worried if Mark Davis gives Antonio Pierce another year, we're just going to waste another year. Now, Adam Schefter had some interesting things to say on Antonio Pierce and how much likely, or I guess how likely it would be that he's going to be back next season. Mark Davis had the chance to stand behind Antonio Pierce at the owners' meeting, and he didn't. It didn't sound like he's an absolute lock to be back with the Raiders at all. So Antonio Pierce hasn't been going well. Schefter said this. I want to say it was on like the Pat McAfee show. I believe he said it on December 16th. And I know for a lot of the people that watch the show religiously, believe me when I tell you, I appreciate when people watch. Then, Tashan Reed, I don't know how many people saw this on December 11th, Davis said that Pierce and Raiders GM Tom Telesco will be evaluated separately once the offseason arises. I know a lot of times when people hear the word rumor or when people get upset about a rumor, and I know we're talking about just win baby rumors, but it is extremely important to watch how rumors develop. It's important because it's almost like a plant, or it's, like a fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire, or you add a little bit of water to that rumor plant. But the reason why people need to subscribe to the Raiders Report is because if you think what Schefter said, the amount of people that have been sending me, Schefter said this, Schefter said that, that just tells me you didn't watch my show, and that's okay. I get people are busy, but I do think it's important that people, when you get time, go back and watch some of the shows that you missed, because if you think what Schefter and Tashan Reed are saying is new, that is screaming to me you're not subscribed to the Raiders Report. I made a show called Juicy Raiders Rumors. Everything that Schefter is talking about, everything that Tashan Reed, the Athletic, has been reporting about, Telesco and AP being different, this and that. I mean, this is a video. You can go find it on my channel from December 3rd, and it's everything that people are talking about now. Rumors are important, and I know that Schefter has way more inside sources than me. I get it, but nobody covers the Raiders the way that content creators do, and I'll tell you this, nobody covers the Raiders the way we do here at the Raiders Report. Are we going to be right and wrong at times? Yeah, I mean, that's part of life. But if you're hearing what a lot of these people are saying and you're like, oh, this new information, you got to hit that sub, man. Got to turn on those noties because we've already been talking about it. Let's go to the final thing that we're going to discuss here on today's show. The Raiders will have the number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. I'm going to give this one to Just Win Babies, and I'm going to say there's a 50% shot of it happening. The reason why we need to talk about this is because there's different providers of the NFL Draft, and a common question that I keep getting over and over and over again is, Mitch, are the Raiders going to have the number 1 pick? Because Tankathon has the Raiders at 1 right now, but NFL.com has the Raiders at number 2. Let me be very clear. If the Raiders lose their next 3 games, they will have the number 1 overall pick. If the Giants lose their next 3 games, the Raiders will have the number 1 overall pick, and it's due to strength of schedule. Tankathon looks at strength of schedule for the remaining of the season as well as the teams you've already played. NFL.com only looks at the strength of schedule for the games that have already happened. So because the Raiders' schedule is much easier than the Giants, if the Raiders lose out, they have the number 1 pick. So let's compare the Raiders and the Giants' schedule if you still don't quite see it because you're a visual person, and I get it. I'm also a visual person. So left is the Raiders. On the right side is the Giants' schedule. So when you see the Raiders' remaining schedule is 16-26 combined, that strength of schedule is much worse than the New York Giants at 25-17. And because it is such a big disparity, if the Raiders lose their next 3 games, they are locked and loaded to that number 1 overall pick. And the number 1 overall pick is going to really help put this team in the right direction. If you want the Raiders to draft Shedeur Sanders, puts them in a good spot. If you want the Raiders to draft Cam Ward, they at least have the opportunity to do it. And if you're somebody where you're like, Mitch, I don't want Shedeur, I don't want Cam Ward, I want the Raiders to go draft somebody else, maybe a Travis Hunter. I hear it all the time. Well, then if you're the Raiders, you go, I'm going to trade out of that number 1 pick, and I'm going to get a whole bunch of draft capital. The best thing possible for this franchise, for this organization. Because guess what? It's also going to be more money in Mark Davis's pocket, which helps us long term. The best thing possible is if the Raiders shut down Aidan O'Connell, get the next head coach ready, because it's probably not going to be Antonio Pierce, and then get ready for that number 1 overall pick, because damn it, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and that number 1 pick is going to help us get going in the right direction.